June. Justin Trudeau, and we're going to start with some treason. Well, I've got a meme to start us off, but we've got treason to start off the day today because Justin Trudeau is asked about treasonous MPs in his cabinet, and he sits there for a very long time not saying anything, like a long pause, a very long pregnant pause, and it's ridiculous. So holy smoke, there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Here's the meme I was telling you about, and it's Justin Trudeau on the at the podium there saying every politician has a choice to make about the kind of leader they want to be, and the journalist says, when exactly did you choose to be the worst Canadian prime minister ever? Right. Accurate. Good question. Good question. Here is Justin Trudeau living up to that low bar that he sets for himself every single day, and he's asked, do you know that there's no treasonous MPs in the Liberal caucus? And and then Jagmeet Singh says there's none in his caucus, and the long pause, well, it's a long time. Here is that exchange. Here we go.
Is it tenable to just go on without names attached to some of these allegations? I mean, Jagmeet Singh has said that there's nobody in his caucus he needs to worry about. Can you say the same thing with comfort and clarity?
I hadn't known that Jagmeet said that. I would be wary of any party leader drawing any sort of conclusion like that.
Is it tenable to just go on with?
No, it is not tenable to go on without names attached. And it's interesting because he doesn't answer the question. Does the Liberal Party, he does answer the question in saying that there's no party leader who's untouched by this, including Jagmeet Singh and including himself, I guess. And so how can you continue in government? How can you continue having any policy driven forward if that's the situation and the prime minister knows that? Isn't that treason, right? And if it's not treason, there's either mental gymnastics or a damn good explanation, and I don't think a damn good explanation exists unless the explanation is Justin Trudeau standing at the podium and then he says, let me introduce your real leader, and then Chi walks out, right? Like maybe I would then understand what happened. Right? But at this point in time, if we're all pretending that Justin Trudeau is the one in charge of some kind of democracy that Canadian citizens run, it's not plausible to move forward with traitors in our government. It just isn't. Period. Like, we're not going to, if we know there's traitors in the government, we can't have the government behave as a government until the next election day, because the election day is set. That's not how this works. If there's treason, you stop the treason. Like that becomes priority one. It's like you're walking into your kitchen and you think to yourself, I'd like a peanut butter sandwich, maybe peanut butter and jam. And you're walking in there, and then you're not in there quite yet, but you can see the kitchen, and a wrecking ball comes through your kitchen. Suddenly, there's a problem. You're not going to get your peanut butter sandwich, and you're also not hungry for it. You've got to figure out what the hell happened here and fix the damn kitchen and figure out what the damage is and all the rest of it, right? Like, we've had a wrecking ball in the form of treason thrown into our laps. We're not getting a sandwich anymore. We're not waiting until 2025 for the next election. We have to stop this government now. And I don't know exactly how we do that as a society, but I was saying yesterday on Twitter, what's the protocol if there was treason found in a majority government? How do you deal with that? Because this government is de facto majority. Jagmeet Singh has said, well, we'll let the Liberals decide. And that was to Vasikopoulos yesterday. So pretty wild stuff. If the Liberals, who are in majority and choose not to hold an election, how does the public express their dissatisfaction with that? You understand? National Post is reporting, Trudeau says foreign interference affects all parties, contradicting NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Quote, I would be very wary of any party leader drawing any sorts of conclusion like that. Trudeau said about Singh's suggestion that there is nobody in the NDP caucus he needs to worry about. So, treason. There's treason in every party, says the Prime Minister of Canada. Holy cow. Trudeau declined to offer more specifics after host David Cochrane suggested that viewers might understand from his comments that there are reasons to be suspicious about the NDP. Quote, I'm implying that interference in our parliamentarians goes beyond party lines from many different sources, and we need to make sure that before we go accusing anyone from any party of anything, there are really important processes to go through, said Trudeau. Like what? Like, could you shine some light on what the processes are? Or are they super duper secret too? Trudeau's Singh and the Green Party co-leader, Elizabeth May, are the only. Does the other co-leader have any kind of input either, are the only party leaders until now who have had access to the full text of a report on foreign interference from NSICOP. In the redacted version, the committee writes that it has seen troubling intelligence that some parliamentarians are, in the words of the intelligence service, semi-witting or witting participants in the efforts of foreign states to interfere in our politicians. Are you like semi-witting if you look at an envelope full of cash and you take it and you're like, well, I thought it was Canadian Tire, buddy. That's witting or semi-witting, right? Like, and if it isn't Canadian Tire money and you didn't return it and you just put it into your bank account, that's still accepting the bribe just later. Like, witting how, right? Like, I guess I'll use this money now and feel guilty about it later. Okay, sounds good. If you're semi-witting, well, what does that even mean? I kind of know that you don't represent Canada, but you're going to get me elected, so I'm going to look past it and pretend I don't know, right? Like, what does semi-witting even mean in this context? These are undefined terms that mean anything. Could mean anything. It's so. How are these people going on television shows and pretending like everything's hunky-dory fine? Oh, today's Friendship Day, right? Like, get out of here. Elizabeth May, back to the article, said that she was vastly relieved after reading the report last week, but Jagmeet Singh said he felt the opposite and was in fact more concerned than he was before reading it. Did you notice what happened here? Do you notice what that is? No? It's a perfect wedge, right? It's a perfect wedge about the NSICOP report. Right? They've got people on one side who say, well, I believe Elizabeth May. Of course, Elizabeth May would never lie to me. And she's American. And then there's people who say, well, obviously, Jagmeet Singh read the report too, right? And he feels worse about it. So we can't trust Elizabeth May. We have to feel worse about it. And now, like, there's a third kind of angle on the whole thing because Jagmeet Singh is claiming innocence, but now Justin Trudeau's thrown Jagmeet Singh under the bus saying nobody's innocent. And also Elizabeth May. But it seems like a perfect wedge. On one side, you believe Elizabeth May, and on the other side, you believe the bad version of Jagmeet Singh, or the pessimistic version of Jagmeet Singh, where he's thinking that it's way worse. Not the one where he says, it's not my party, though, but it's way worse, but it's not my party. Yeah, right, okay. So, there's more. Sorry, I didn't finish this. Trudeau, who has had full access to the report for nearly 3 months, said in a press conference at the end of the Ukrainian Peace Summit in Switzerland that Russia wasn't invited to this weekend that there are a number of conclusions that this government does not entirely align with. Oh, they disagree with the report. So there you go. I guess if the Liberals disagree, then I guess we'll have to trust them until next year. Trudeau told CBC that interpreting intelligence is a really challenging thing. Yeah, especially when you don't read, right? Like, he pointed out that Singh and May, which he describes as two thoughtful parliamentarians, read the fully classified report and drew very different conclusions from even what was in the report. Wow. I think that's on purpose. I think the reason that they drew two different conclusions is to wedge the population into two different camps and to have a plausible fight about it that's not liberal conservative in the usual fight. You know what I mean? I'm saying it's a different kind of wedge. And the wedge, Jonathan Kay points this out, but they've kind of stopped the gender weighing wedging because maybe they realized how stupid they sound. But they're trying to find a new one and a new effective one. Also, I don't know if the Israel-Palestine Gaza wedge stuff is still happening. I mean, people are still trying to block me for it, but I think they fundamentally misunderstand my position on it, but whatever. I haven't seen as many fraught people arguing over it, so it might be going the way of Black Lives Matter and we'll get our new wedge soon, right? It's not going to be the Elizabeth May, Jagmeet Singh wedge because they want to get rid of that one, but it'll be something else that they'll pump some air into. Here's Logan, and Logan says, breaking, another MP has resigned. Andy Fillmore of Halifax does not look like a seat in the CPC can win. It's a safe Liberal seat, although the NDP might snake it. Reports indicate that he intends to run for mayor of Halifax based on his farewell address. I'm not done serving Halifax yet. The Liberals don't really, they have done a very, very effective job at transforming the country, and I'm not saying that as an act, like I'm not saying that as a positive thing at all. It's like saying the new writers of Star Wars have very efficiently destroyed the franchise, right? That's not a compliment, ladies, right? Like, so it's very, very interesting watching all of this happen, and we're kind of caught with our pants down. Like, this society itself, our government, our institutions were undermined years before they made their move. The courts were going to back this prime minister no matter what. They already knew that. Everything was in place before Trudeau took leadership of the Liberal Party. When he took leadership of the Liberal Party, he knew that he had the full backing of the media. He knew he had the full backing of the machine, if you will. He knew that, right? And he knew where he was going as well. Like, this has been very long planned out, in my opinion. And so it's interesting how much damage can be done when you're playing opponents who have no idea what the game is or what they're supposed to be doing or what they're supposed to be blocking. It's, again, and I go back to my analogy of we're standing on the football field, they're running touchdowns, and we're standing around going, this seems really important. And like, now we're realizing that what they're doing has actual material impact on our lives, and we're still unable to respond because we don't have any organization. People don't believe that this is happening. They just can't believe it, right? And there's a vested interest for the powers that be to keep things confusing, to keep things just affordable enough, to keep things just under that level of complete chaos. It's not chaotic enough to revolt. It's not expensive enough to revolt, right? It's not quite there. It's getting there. People are upset, but it's not quite there. And so we are held captive by this system that holds us captive. We're dependent on these systems, these supply chains for food, for farming vast quantities of wheat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Imagine if, as a household, you just grew your own food, right? Then you wouldn't be reliant on any kind of long supply chains or anything like that. Our system, in and of itself, as it is now, with long supply chains, interconnectivity, dependencies, all of that stuff. Sure, it's really, really decadent and plush, right? It's super decadent and plush, and like, certain things are really, really cheap because of economies of scale, like McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, you can get a burger for $1. Like, that's crazy. You can't do that if you're growing your own burgers. You're eating a lot less burgers if you're growing your own food, right? But you're completely self-sustaining, and you're not going to starve, right? If something goes down. So it's a really, the strategy that they've decided is very long-term, so long-term that we can't see it while we're living it. We're seeing it right now, I think, because they're probably trying to catch up from what Trump did to derail their plans, et cetera, et cetera. But most of the time, and even now, most people don't see it. And if they do see it, they have to look past it for their jobs. I got to get a COVID jab for my job. I had to get the COVID jab to keep my job. All that stuff, right? Those people look past these things that are happening, because if they see them, then they'll start asking uncomfortable questions. And they've seen what happens to people who ask uncomfortable questions. And so have we, right? They get fired, right? So they don't want that to happen. So in order for that not to happen to them, they have to look past it, right? So some kids have their healthy sex organs cut off. I'm not cutting off their healthy sex organs in my classroom, right? I'll just look past it, right? It's crazy town. It's crazy town. But we are incentivized to be just under that revolutionary pressure. Like, everything is supposed to be just attainable, and like, we're screwing up if it's not, right? We're to blame. Anyway, the plan is something that has been rolled out for a very, very long time, and we have been manipulated into a position, and even bribed into a position of decadence, to rely on this thing that we think will never ever break, and they're now trying to smash it with a hammer. Stacy says, reporter, this is funny. So this is about reading the NSICOP report. And if you read the report, you are sworn to secrecy. Elizabeth May, in 13 seconds, argues both sides of this. She says, on one side, no, he wouldn't be gagged. And then the reporter says, okay, can you tell us anything about blah, blah, blah? And then she says, oh, I can't talk about that. So here we go.
He has his reasons, right? He doesn't want to be gagged.
Well, you're not gagged. As you can see, I'm careful, but not gagged.
Like, did you read anything in that report?
To answer that might be revealing more than I'm prepared to reveal.
He has his reason.
Okay. You need a refill? Okay. National Post is reporting, this is ridiculous as well, Canadian ship sent to Havana to demonstrate our naval capability. Yeah, strength in Canada, right? Yes, our naval capability against those Ruskies, right? We're going to show them exactly what we're made of. And so Canadian warship sharing an anchorage with Russian vessel in Cuba. Canadian Navy patrol boat, His Majesty's CS Margaret Brooke, passes by the Russian nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine Kazan, and a frigate Admiral Gorshkov, I'm probably getting that wrong, as it enters Havana's bay in Cuba on Friday. So nice nuclear submarine you've got there, Russia. Here's our warship. It's a little rusty in the front there. Yeah, we're working on that. We were going to paint it before we came, but we thought, next time. This show of force was meant to show you we're a working ship. We're a working warship. Lots of wars in Canada and Canadian waters. We'll tell you. You want a tour? It's ridiculous. Oh, yes, those were my colleagues that were shadowing you out there. You did. Oh, you picked them up on radar, did you? Right. I've seen that on Deadliest Catch as well. On Deadliest Catch, all the captains have like computer screens and all the positions of all the boats. And some of the boats don't have transponders running, so they don't know who the boat is, but they know there's a boat there. They can see it there. So I would imagine that, there's probably rules about traversing international waters and probably the big Russian ships and probably not the submarine. Maybe the submarine would be not on the computer screen. But for real, this is what they say. Like this is what they're saying. Bruce shares this video. Minister of Defense Bill Blair says a Canadian military vessel, MCS Margaret Brooke, docked with the Russian fleet in Havana, Cuba, on the advice of the Canadian Armed Forces. We are told this was done to show off our naval capabilities and our commitment to safe and open naval waters. Does anyone buy this? Does anyone for a second buy this garbage? Right? Like to show this, we sent that to ship to show off to the Russian nuclear submarine. That's weird, right? Like, hey, bat around some ideas so we could show off to Russia. We could send a frigate down to Cuba. I like it. Sounds good. Do you think they're going to have a nuclear submarine? Do you think they're going to have better material or better equipment than us? Nah. Do we have enough sleeping bags for all the crew? If they hot bunk. Okay, here's Bill Blair. The reason I made the sleeping bag joke is because not too long ago, Canadians didn't have enough equipment for their deployment in Latvia, and they had to share sleeping bags. So showing off to Russia, basically kitting out our force. Whatever. Either or, whatever's good. But I mean, next time, like maybe paint the ship. I don't know. Here's Bill Blair.
Now, on the advice of the Canadian Armed Forces, I authorized the Canadian Margaret Brooke to sail into Havana, where it arrived on Friday. The Canadian ship visited Havana to demonstrate Canada's presence, naval capability, and commitment to safe and open waters in the Americas. Now, on the advice,
I'd love to read the advice email. Like, what's the operational purpose of this? We're gonna show off to Russia. Could that compromise those people on that ship's safety? I mean, not to say that I think Russia might try and sink Canada, but Canada's putting a lot of money into Ukraine, who are trying to wage war in Russia. So that seems, I don't know, if Russia was feeling retaliatory or something to that effect, although they would, spark a national incident. I'm not worried about that. Clearly, the Canadian military is not worried about that. But it seems like a really weird thing. Like, hey, Russia, we're going to seize and steal your assets and give it to Ukraine. We're going to give Canadian tax dollars to Ukraine to beat you in your evil, illegal war. We're going to ignore the agreements we made in the 90s about expansion of NATO to the east and claim that you are 100% responsible for the aggression that led to the 2021 conflict. Blowing up what pipeline? What do you mean, Nord Stream? I don't know what you're talking about. Here's a Navy ship of Canada's. Just saying. Here it is right here. Hi. They're waving an LGBT flag too. Like, what are we doing? How does this make any sense whatsoever? Like, if you and me and 10 of our friends sat down and talked about ways we could, sort out the world's problems, is sending a ship to Cuba while Russia's there on that list of top 10? No, probably not. Make a call to Putin. Withdraw money and support for foreign wars. Send a naval ship to Cuba. Give me a break. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, and like, I don't think that there's a rational explanation like that could make sense to me. So I'd love to hear your theories. Let me know what you think in the comments. Why? Let's talk about CO2, because the Liberals are lying and they're taking advantage of all heat waves in order to make it seem like climate change is a real big deal. And climate change, let me be very clear here, just to paraphrase Jagmeet Singh, but I'll actually be clear. Climate change is a hoax meant to steal our tax dollars No amount of money paid to politicians is going to change the weather unless you're trying to pay them to spray the skies, in which case it might change weather patterns. And it might do, stop hail. Apparently they do that in Alberta. All sorts of other things that spraying the skies with injectables might do. But we should stop all of that geoengineering too and let the skies return to what I remember growing up, which was nice blue, clear skies and fluffy, fluffy clouds, right? Like none of these weird lines, microwave things in the skies. It's weird. It's weird to watch it. We should stop all of that. But the Liberals are trying to make this thing happen. And they are using everything they can use to make it happen. So the world has gone mad, says Trudeau's government is so invested in global boiling that they're sensationalizing regular summer. Regular summer weather as extreme terms like heat dome and sizzling skies are used to scare us. Sizzling skies. Ooh. It must tick them off that Mother Nature is not cooperating. Frost warnings all over central Alberta today. So here's the hottest 4-day stretches in June from back to the early 90s. The top 10, okay? 33.3, June 25th, 2005. 2003 was 33.1. 1994 was 32.7. We didn't have air conditioning in 1994. I remember that one. 1995, 32.7, still no air conditioning. 2007, air conditioning, 32.7. I don't remember that one. 2008, 32.6. 32.6 again in 2012, 1988, 32.5. I think I remember that one too. 2016, 32.4, and 2001, 32.3. They're all in like the June 18, 17, 12, 15, 27 to 30, 24 to 27. In June, it happens, right? However, June 20 or July 2018, you've got green and yellow for 28 degrees and 29 degrees. And now you've got red and yellow for 20 degrees and 23 degrees. And these people are craven liars. True Grit Grams says, our country is on fire, says the globalists. Alberta, snow in June. There you go. Snow in June. Oh, it looks so nice. I always find when, like, right after Christmas, because I'm a Christmas junkie. I like Christmas quite a lot. And traditional Christmas, 1980s Christmas, 1980s, hearkening back to the like Rat Pack era Christmas. That's what I think of as traditional Christmas. But it's very niche because there's a lot of really weird Christmas. Also, I feel like the Christmas people, the Christmas songs, when you have like a good Christmas song like White Christmas, you get somebody like Cardi B to cover it, and then all of the radio stations are like, here's Cardi B's White Christmas, and then they play that more than they play like the good stuff, and it perverts it to the point of you saying like, I can't stand this garbage Christmas music anymore. It used to be in the UK, they had a Christmas song contest starting in like November, and all of these pop stars would release their Christmas song for the contest, and they stopped doing that too. But I find myself in June missing Christmas. And then at Christmas, I'm like, man, like right after Christmas is done, because I'm a Christmas junkie, as I said, after Christmas, I'm like, man, I can't wait to be at the hot tub or, hanging out at the pool with the kids and like doing all that pool stuff. But it's super funny how you get nostalgic for it. And I like when it's snowing, I like how crisp it is in your nose. But also, I'm a big fan of heat waves and hanging out by the pool. So I'm not sad that we're in a heat dome. Let's have some sizzling skies, baby. I want a hot dog and a nice barbecue and make sure that there is no rain. So sizzling skies me up. Mark Holland is responding to this. He says, this week, many Canadians will be feeling the effects of climate change and will experience a heat wave that can cause serious harm, especially for seniors and children. Is that because you have one too many by the pool and you have a sunburn and you're like, man, I wish I'd put some sunscreen on instead of having that extra beer? No, that's not what he's talking about. To protect yourself from extreme heat, remember to keep up to date on the weather forecast. And there's a bunch of other things. There's another tweet, but it's ridiculous. These people are crazy. Rex Glacier is sharing global news report. Ontario's independent electricity system operator says there will be enough electricity supplied to meet the additional demand created by what's expected to be a prolonged heat wave. Yay! So we're going to have electricity. No rolling brownouts now, right? You can keep your cooling to whatever degree you see fit. Rex says everyone will be driving EVs by 2030. Am I doing this right? Don't worry, citizen. We will have enough electricity for the EVs and the cooling. Sure you will. Gov.exe says Stephen Guilbeault says conservatives want to let the planet burn. For real. Poilievre responds, and it's passable. The problem with Poilievre is not what he says, it's what he doesn't address. That's the problem. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, facts are facts, and the facts are that 8 out of 10 Canadian families get more money back from carbon pricing than they paid. Facts, Mr. Speaker, climate change is going to cost Canadian $35 billion by 2030. In fact, right now, Eastern Canada is seeing the second heat wave before the summer has even started. People are being evacuated in Northwest Territories. What's the Conservative response? Let the planet burn. It's immoral, Mr. Speaker. We won't have it on this side of the House. We will work with Canadians. We will help them. We will be there for them. Unfortunately, not the Conservative Party of Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the fanatical rhetoric of that extremist minister won't change anything. The reality is that nor will his carbon tax change the weather. His carbon tax is not going to eliminate a single forest fire, a single drought, a single heat wave. All it will do is turn up the heat on Canadian taxpayers. Now we know that their 8 and 10 talking point does not include a $25 billion hit to the economy, which works out to almost $2,000 in lost wages and higher prices for families. Again, if they've been hiding this, what else are they hiding about their other tax hikes?
Yep. I mean, it's an interesting point, but the ideology being pushed between Guilbeault, Mark Holland, and all of the other ministers, interesting to note, right? And here's Cheryl. And I told you yesterday there's a by-election in Park, St. Paul. Oh, St. Paul. Leslie Church. I don't know where I got Park from. Toronto, St. Paul. There's the by-election in Toronto, St. Paul. And every minister, cabinet minister, all the way down, like Randy Balsano even made a fly-in to door knock. Same with Champagne and other high-ranking liberals. And Cheryl says the Trudeau cabinet carbon footprint to support Leslie Church is massive. And Leslie Church says, thanks for joining us at Isabel and Arthur Megan Manor. Toronto, St. Paul is a special place, blah, 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 blah. So lots and lots of, it's okay if the liberals travel for campaigning, but if you want to go on a vacation, the planet's going to burn, right? Like, okay, Mark Holland, nobody believes you. Let's talk about the tax, the capital gains tax, because this is a big deal and they're trying to push this. And now the Globe, or not the Globe and Mail, the second time I made the mistake, National Post has this opinion piece. Do you think this one's written by a CRA person, like somebody who works for Canada Revenue Agency? Maybe, because they do that, right? For climate change and a bunch of other things, they have government employees write articles, and then the government pays the newspaper to print those articles as honest pieces from staff, right? Staff pieces. Opinion, time to stop complaining about the capital gains tax hike and get back to work, you peasants. I mean, it's just prima nocte, right? Like, my goodness, you don't like the government taking your money? Well, be quiet and go work for more money. Okay, you ungrateful citizen, you. It's very, very interesting. Igor says, get back to work on moving your businesses to countries that don't gouge you. Yes. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, right? Like at this point in time, holy smokeronies. Not that I'm opposed to rich people paying more. I'm opposed to these crooks changing anything because of all of the treason in our government. I'm fine with rich people paying a little bit more, but I think fundamentally, rich people pay more enough already. And that's what I mean by I'm fine with rich people paying more. They pay a ton of taxes now, and I don't want them to not pay more taxes. I don't want them to take a really hard look at this because I'm sure they make enough money to do it. It seems like a system that's been working for a while. But I think that us as a society should focus on making needs, necessities as cheap as possible, even for rich people. Rich people shouldn't be punished because they have lots of money, right? Like if food is cheap, then rich people can use that cheap food to make money at a restaurant. But if food isn't cheap, then poor people starve, right? Like, and that's a problem. And I'd rather have poor people able to eat and rich people have awesome restaurants that I can go to than have people starving and rich people pissed off because they can't, well, because they can eat, but all they can eat is the food they can grow on their own farm, which might be a bulwark against all of this nonsense. Anyway, Liberal Party says, which of these plans will grow the middle class? On the left, Trudeau says, asking the ultra-wealthy to pay a bit more to deliver. Do you know any ultra-wealthy doctors? How about small business owners? How about people who, whose parents pass on and leave them an inheritance? Are those people ultra-wealthy? No? So should they pay more. And I think that it's interesting that they're framing this as this tax will deliver healthcare, dental care, pharmacare, and $10 a day childcare. They've already instituted those programs. We were told that they could pay for those programs. Now we're told the ultra wealthy have to pay more taxes to fund these programs. How about we scrap the programs? How about we scrap these crap programs and scrap the carbon tax too? And let's have everybody be able to manage their own household without the government having to borrow from Peter to pay Paul, right? Or steal taxes from the ultra wealthy to hand money out to new arrivals who've never paid a dime in taxes in Canada in their lives. How about that? Versus conservatives cutting services for Canadians so he can cut the taxes for the wealthiest. Yeah, yes, please do that. Yep. Let's do that. Let's cut a bunch of those services. Let's cut healthcare because you can't deliver it. Let's cut dental care because you can't deliver it. Let's cut pharmacare because a lot of people have insurance and you can't deliver it. $10 a day daycare has been a boondoggle anyway. Scrap it all and throw the criminals out, right? And put them in prison. Throw the criminals out of the government and put them in jail. That's where they should go. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful